is a pretty autumn day here in Lacey Township. Temperatures in the high 40s, sun splashing through. The Lions hope the sun is on them as they look to make it a perfect 8-0 on the year. Hi again, everybody. I am Rich Steigman, along with the yin and the yang of Ocean County football knowledge, Ron Emmert and Tony Sermarini. Ron, Lacey did wrap up a playoff berth last week with a 28-13 win over Manchester. Did push the mark to 7-0. Did wrap up the Group 3 berth. But from Lacey's standpoint, it was not a great game by their standards.
No, their coaches weren't very happy at all. In fact, when they came back to the school, they spent an hour looking at the film and also weightlifting, not so much as a punishment, but just to try to get across the point that you're much more capable of playing much higher caliber of football than you showed against Manchester. And the week in practice was very, very tense, very, very difficult week, and it was a back to fundamentals kind of agenda for the Lacey people. They know they have a good football team, but they also know that they can't have a letdown against a team they expect to win. They've got to be intense all the way through. And I think today you're going to see a return to that intensity. Pinelands provides a very tough opponent. It's a league game. They do have the conference pretty much in tow, except it could be really a tense Thanksgiving type of situation. But basically, they're back to basics, and I think you're going to see a football team and a football game a little bit different than you saw last week.
Well, Tony, this is a pretty good Pinelands club. The Wildcats come in at 4-3 of their 3 losses. They were right in 2 of the ball games, only getting blown out by Central, and they are led by a very talented running back that's been red hot lately.
Right, Jim Vila, their tailback, is doing very, very well. He's the leading rusher in Ocean County. He's got 970 yards, and he had almost 300 yards rushing last week. That won't probably be the focus of their attack today because they're thinking that that's what Ed Heffernan and the defensive staff for Lacey will concentrate on. They're going to stop Vila. Lacey is going to stop Vila. So what Pinelands has done is they've put in a lot of decoy plays for Vila, and I would think that we'll see Dan DeLucia, number 35, run the football a lot today, which will be a change because he's only run the ball about 25 times this year, whereas we've got 150 to 170 carries for Jim Vila. But they're going to do some different things today because Lacey is always well prepared, and they'll be ready to stop Jim Vila. But again, you have to think that you've got to go with your bread and butter. So I think that they'll start out trying to change it up a little bit, and then they'll come back to their bread and butter at Jim Vila.
Because Central was a loser to Toms River South last night, Lacey can take a full 1-game lead in B South with the victory this afternoon. We're back with the coin toss and the opening kickoff in just a minute.
Adelphia High School football, brought to you by Wallachs of Toms River.
We're back at Lacey, and a look from the backside of some of the championship banners on display. A great football tradition here at Lacey Township. The Lions will be in the state playoffs again this season, and as we mentioned, today they can take a 1-game lead in the B South race. The teams are out on the field now as the officials are out there getting set to toss the coin. Talked about Lacey's chance to take the 1-game lead over Central. Here's a look at those B South standings. The Lions a half game ahead at 4-0. South was beaten 14-0 on this field back on Halloween Day. That's their one loss, and Central lost to the Indians by a couple of touchdowns on Friday night. Pinelands right in there, and an upset would certainly be nice for Bill Bruno's club at 4-3, and then Freehold, Manchester. The Hawks got their first win last night in Freehold Township. The Wildcats have won the toss. They will receive and work from left to right in this first quarter. Pinelands is in white jerseys with the green pants and the gold helmets. And the Lions of Lacey, first look we're getting at them here on Channel 8 in the home blues, trimmed in red and gray.
Get a picture of Lou Versillo getting his charges ready to get out there on the field. And pre-game, we were happened to be down on the field and watched number 21, Brian Elias, try to get his teammates fired up, and the senior leadership from Lacey took over to try to get them ready for Pinelands. They must gather together and do what they do well, and they can play with this Lacey team today.
You got to look a moment ago at number 40 for Pinelands, Jim Vila, the deep man to receive the kick. As we mentioned, 979 yards rushing in 7 games. What a job he's done. Jason Dunn, junior man who kicks off. A left footer tees it up at the Lacey 40. Final weekend before the playoffs in New Jersey. And here we go. It comes to Joe Falzone at the 10-yard line, and he's tripped up. Casey Mahoney, the sophomore, hustling down and stopped him before he got to the 20.
You know, Casey Mahoney, every game, either consistently or at periods of time, just is outstanding. And you talk about a 10th grader playing every varsity football game, you can just imagine what the next 2 years is going to bring. And I think Lou Versillo, and of course, since he's basically a linebacker, Ed Heffernan is very, very happy to have him back for 2 more years. Great effort on that kickoff cover.
Highlands starts at the 17-yard line. Josh Overholt, the quarterback, and they do go with a single setback. Vila, wide receivers left and right, and a little misdirection on first down. Inside it goes to the fullback, DeLucia, lined up there as a wingback, and he brings it out to the 21. Overholt's the quarterback. DeLucia normally lines up as a fullback in the eye. We may see him in different spots today, along with Vila. Rossiter and Salento, the wide receivers, and Devlin Murray, the transfer from Eastern, is the starting tight end. The offensive line does have pretty good size. Jeremy Price is 280 at left tackle. Then Dave Allen, Barrett Sorvetto, 250, the center, Vin Caronanti, and Mike Foy, all Beast South last season, at right tackle. DeLucia got about 3. Second down and 7 at the 21. Again, one back, and here is Vila finding a hole, and that's quickly cut down. I believe it was Mahoney again, stopping him at the 24, and it'll be third down about 4. The Lions defense, basically a 4-man front, but they will switch around up there. TJ Hutler, a junior. Tim McDowell lines up on the nose sometimes, a senior. Gerard Caruso and Matt Coffey, one of the senior leaders on this team. We'll say 3 linebackers. Again, it will change. Nolan, who's a versatile guy, he'll line up on the line. Dave Lopdell, senior, 230 in the middle. And Mahoney, the talked about sophomore. Secondary is good. Cohen and Lamanowitz are the corners. Brett Pistano, the strong safety. Brian Elias, the free safety. Third down play at about 4. Quick pitch. This is Vila's favorite play. Looking to get wide. Bounces off one tackle for Lamanowitz. And he has enough for a Pinelands first down to the 30-yard line.
Well, you can see what happens right here. You can see number 40, Jim Vila, make Brett Vistano, number 27, miss and get the yardage for the first down. Outstanding effort. You can see the skills and the abilities that Jim Vila has to lower that shoulder and not let Brett Vistano get to his legs to bring him down. And he bounced off the shoulders and just kept those legs driving for the first down.
Highlands likes to grind it out, pick up 10 yards on 3 plays, especially against a good offensive team like Lacey. Bill Bruno will want to keep the Lions offense off the field as much as possible. 2-back set on the option. It goes up the middle, and DeLucia squirts out past the 35. Good first down gain for the Wildcats. DeLucia got about 5 or 6.
You know, Lacey has a couple different packages defensively, and talking to Coach Versillo during the week, he was going to use his 40 package, which is a 4-4 shade, but right now he's bringing some more people up on the line of scrimmage, and when they give a wing set, they're moving Lobdell from his linebacker position right up on the wing to try to come down and destroy that blocking combination, and that's what happened on Vila's run. He did destroy that blocking combination, but Vila was able to get outside.
2 tight end set on second down and 4. Rossiter is flanked to the right. Here's Vila with a fullback lead, hit at the line, and look at all the blue shirts on top of the pile. Vila got a yard or 2.
knowing Ed Heffernan and the way he prepares his defense, they're keying on number 40, Jim Vila, who is their leading rusher with 2,000 yards. That Lacey defense is keying on him. You can see probably they have a key on DeLucia as the fullback, as the lead blocker. When they ran that play, everybody from Lacey was flocking to the football. Now that's why they have those 14 new plays in at Pinelands to try to confuse the keys that they've set up this week for Lacey Township.
It was only a year ago that Steve Amato, Vila's backfield mate, became the all-time Wildcat leading rusher. It took Vila only a year. 3rd and 3, Overholt over the middle and nearly intercepted. He was looking for DeLucia, but he overthrew him, and Elias disappointed with himself that he didn't come up with a pick at the Lacey 47.
On that play, we can see a little bit of a change-up. They bootleg with number 13, Overholt, coming out, and the man that they were dragging underneath was number 35, Dan DeLucia, and if he had delivered the ball, he was open. The keys for Lacey took him away from that look because number 40, Vila, went the other way.
That was Lamanowitz who had the chance for the interception. Now 4th and 3, and a punting situation for Pinelands. Rob Sanzari, standing back at his 23, punts it away. Dave Pestricello, our player of the week last week for his marvelous effort, returns it, picked it up on the run, and brings it back into Pinelands territory. Pestricello to the Wildcat 45, 8.5 to go in a scoreless first quarter, and Rich Barglowski leads the Lion offense onto the field.
Well, we saw a very excited defensive effort by Lacey in that first series. And right now, they've got great field position, and I would expect the same kind of intensity from the offensive group, because when they came out in the field, as Tony mentioned at the beginning of our broadcast, they were very, very excited about this particular game. So let's see what can happen on offense.
Brett Vestato is the upback, and Brian Elias the tailback. On first down from the 45, and now it maybe 1st and 5 from the 40. Looked like a couple of the Wildcats came across.
Looked like number 86, Charlie Markey, jumped off sides. And again, what you get is it's pure emotion.
Let's get a look now at that Lacey offense. Barglowski, the senior quarterback, a 2-year starter. We put Elias and Sasala in there. There's only been one game, that Toms River South game, where they played together. We'll see a lot of Brett Vestato. John Cohn, excellent flanker. Tom Nolan, the split end. And Steve Stoop, very good blocker at tight end. Offensive line, a couple of seniors and 3 sophomores. Matt Coffey and Dave Lobdella, the veterans. Chuck Boyer, Jerry Carraz, and Rich Diab, all first-time starters, and they've done well. 1st down and 5 at the 40. 2 tight end set from the eye. Again, Pinelands jump, but they stayed on their side of the line of scrimmage. Sasala is spun around, and Gary Sasala picks up a couple to the Wildcat 38. 5-man front defensively for Pinelands. Charlie Markey, one of the defensive ends. On the other side, it's Devlin Murray, Barrett Cervetto, and Jeremy Price as we move inwards at the tackles, and Mike Foy, 215-pound nose tackle. There's the 5-man front. 3 linebackers. Well, they'll go with a couple of guys in the middle today, Bob Leach and Dan DeLucia. Alan Vogel, 45, will be more a rover than Brian Brown, Damon Rosser, Ryan Salento in the secondary. 2nd down and 3. 2 tight and a wing. And here's Elias hitting the backfield and stopped. That was Vila, who came through and dropped Elias back at the 40.
That's the kind of defensive surge needed by Pinelands to stop this Lacey attack. One thing that, in talking to the defensive coaches from Pinelands, they were talking about moving Mike Foy around. He's not going to sit at nose guard. They're going to move him around and try to put him where they think the play is going to be. So he'll play either tackle or the nose guard, trying to get him at the point of the attack, because they think they're the best defensive player they have.
3rd down and 5 now. Lacey had a 1st and 5. Still right where they started it. 3rd and 5 at the 40. Cohn is to the left. Barglowski's looking that way. Now under pressure toward the sideline. Picks up a block but does not get the 1st down. Forced out by Salento at about the 37. And Lacey will have a 4th down and 2. And we get our first discussion of, do you go for it or do you punt?
Right now, they're on the 37-yard line. Knowing Lou the way he is, I think he'll go for it. I don't think there's any need to punt the ball here. You're on your side, their side of the field, so you're not really putting yourself in danger.
And if conservative Tony Sermorini thinks that, everybody would think that. 66, Edward McKeever, senior defensive tackle, checks in for the Wildcats. It's 4th and a long 2. Pestricello is in the game. He flanks to the left, and Cohn goes to the right. Elias, a single setback, 2 tight end set, and Lacey took too much time. That play was slow coming over from the sideline, and then they didn't get set quick enough at the line of scrimmage, unless that was intentional, but I don't think it was.
Now they took their, they're thinking about last week. They tried 4th down twice last week. They're unsuccessful. They thought about it. They finally decided to go, and now with the penalty, they're going to punt the football.
They had a little mix-up earlier on getting some plays in. Petricello, who takes plays in, was a little confused, and Lou Versillo had to yell the play in. And that time, of course, it took a little longer than they wanted as well.
Barklowski dropped the snap, but he gets a nice punt away. Falzone says stay away from it, but it takes a very good bounce for Lacey, and it dies inside the 5-yard line. The Wildcats will be way backed up. 6:18 to go in the first quarter. Pinelands nothing, Lacey nothing.
And this is where Ed Heffernan's defensive philosophy is most effective. He'll put a lot of pressure on people. He'll bring people at times. He won't take a lot of chances because he doesn't want a chance having one broken for a touchdown, but he will definitely be a gap control down here. He may go into a 5-man front rather than his 4 shade, but he'll definitely have all those running lanes blocked off, and he'll try to make sure that his offense gets the ball in good field position if they can't pick up that first down.
Ball's at the 3-yard line. Both backs line up in the end zone. I formation, Vila off right tackle, only a yard, and then stop.
You can see on their base set where they have the eye with Delucia in the front of the eye and Vila at the back. Lacey is keying on that, and when Vila is coming up to the line of scrimmage, those linebackers are closing and shutting that play down, and that's the kind of play we will get from Ed Heffernan's defense against Pinelands today.
Something else that makes his defense effective down here is they usually can't go with some kind of plays they haven't worked on. They'll go back to basics, and he'll have had their basic plays pretty well defensed.
On this one, DeLucia does move out to that wing-back position. The stutter step in the backfield, but it doesn't fool Lacey. Vila piled up at the 5. I'd say there was 6 gray helmets. They got a shot there on him.
Well, you know that they're keying on Vila, and right now, to get out of this hole, Pinelands is going to have to pull out one of their 14 new plays because everything else is keyed by Ed Heffernan's defense.
Ron, is that jab step that we've seen Vila use going one way, going the other, is that one of the new plays?
No, I don't think so, because that was pretty well defense. Casey Mahoney stepped right up into the hole, so he wasn't fooled at all. If that was supposed to be something to take those linebackers away from the flow of the play, it certainly didn't work that time. And that was a sophomore, Casey Mahoney, one of the better running backs that Ocean County has seen, and did a great job. Stuffed them right in the hole.
2 tight ends, 3rd and 8 at the 5. Overholt in his own end zone. It's a safety as he's pulled down. T.J. Hutler grabbed Overholt in the end zone, and Lacey takes a 2-0 lead.
The kind of things that we were talking about. If Bill Bruno wanted to get out of this hole, he had to try something different. Unfortunately for Pinelands, with players like T.J. Hutler putting the pressure on, Overholt could not get out of the end zone, and they get a safety, 2 points. And what's really tough, you can see the replay right now, you see Hutler coming. He won't let Overholt get outside and drags him down for the 2 points. But what's unfortunate now is Pinelands has to give the ball right back to Lacey, and they'll have good field position to run it back down into the end zone.
Gerard Caruso was the other guy in the end zone, forcing Overholt, who desperately wanted to get rid of that ball, but was not able to.
But he showed maturity. Some people would have just thrown the ball for the sake of throwing it, maybe throwing an interception costing a touchdown.
In case you're not familiar with it, after a safety, it's a free kick. Pinelands will kick it from the 20-yard line. In the pros, you're not allowed to use the T, but in high school you are. And Chris Fawcett will kick it from the 20. John Cohn and Dave Pestricello stand back at around their own 32-yard line. To the far sideline, and out of bounds it goes at the Lacey 41. And if Lacey wants, they can have Pinelands kick this again back from the 15, I believe.
And every time that something like this happens, just move yourself deeper and deeper into trouble, because now the field position for Lacey gets better and better. It just opens up the opportunities for what Lou Versillo and the offensive staff will call.
I think I just saw Coach Versillo indicate, let's just take it where we have it. Let's see. Well, maybe not. Didn't have the choice, right? He could have taken it at the 41.
I think he could have, but again, I think he looks at this, and if he kicks it normally 50, 55 yards, when they run with a run back, they'll be inside Pinelands territory, and that's what he's thinking.
Right, Pestrocello and Cone now standing up at their own 40-yard line, so the Lions should really benefit from this. Up the middle, and knocked down, and touching the ground when he picked it up was Brett Fustano. But he was right around the midfield stripe, in fact, on the Pineland side of it. So with 4:27 to go in the first, it's a 2-0 Lacey lead, and they can go for more here.
You know, one of the new rule changes this year involves the kickoff. If you're kicking off where you normally do on the 40 and you kick that ball out of bounds, let's say down at the 10-yard line, you get the ball at the 35. That's your choice, or you can have them re-kick the ball. Now, of course, this choice that Lou Versillo made certainly paid off if they have the ball on Pineland side of the field.
Cohen in motion on his first down play. Elias takes the pitch. Oh, check that, Sasala. And he moves it inside the 45. He got about 5 yards.
That was something that Lacey found very effective against Toms River South, where they would toss, get the corner, and get as much yardage outside with Sasala and Elias. And of course, with that great speed and the quickness of the running backs and those linemen, it's a great play to start off with, because now you're in a situation where it's a little bit easier to call a 2nd and 5 situation than to get stopped, jammed up inside, and have a 2nd and long. So right now it's a pretty good play calling area.
You saw Elias replace Sasala in the lineup. Only that one game where they both played together. Here's a trap, and it didn't trap Pinelands. Jim Vila met Brian Elias head on and stopped him at the 45.
And also with help from number 50, Barrett Cerveto, and they're really putting some serious licks on the Lacey Lions right now. The Pinelands Wildcats are fired up, and Bill Bruno has this team ready to play the #1 team in the conference.
I think what everybody can see, if you look at the replay, you can see the hit up inside, is that when people play Lacey, Lacey's undefeated. Lacey is the defending champion. You get up for Lacey Township. That wasn't the case years ago. But right now, everybody's out for the hunt, and that's why everybody plays so aggressively.
On 3rd and 5, Barklowski looking deep, now checks underneath, goes back across, complete for Nolan. Surveyed the field, did Barklowski, and he finds Tom Nolan for a first down at the 33.
Oh, what a fine job by number 12, Rich Barklowski. He got outside, got the corner, waited. I was watching downfield, and number 47, Tom Nolan, was covered well. He waited, and if you look right here, he rolls out. Now watch him wait, and if you couldn't see downfield, but I could, but number 47, Tom Nolan, was covered, and he waited until the backs moved with him a little bit, and Tom Nolan moved away, and then he fired the ball in a perfect strike for a completion.
Just about the 33-yard line of Pinelands now. Cone is to the left. Here's Elias. He has a hole. Goes right at the tackler. And he jumps down to the 27-yard line. I don't think his technique is one you necessarily teach running backs, but it works for Brian Elias. Goes up in the air quite a bit.
He gallops a little bit, and what he was looking for is the cutback. And most good backs will get their yardage on cutbacks. One thing about Brian Elias that a lot of people don't realize is when he came off of his knee surgery, there was so much atrophy in that bad leg that he tires and he fatigues very quickly. And thank goodness for the 1-2 combination of Gary Sasala and Brian Elias.
2nd down and about 4 at the 27-yard line. Pilots right up on that line of scrimmage. Barklowski trying for the pass over the middle. Stoop bats it up. And Lacey's very fortunate that's incomplete, although almost the perfect volleyball tap to Brett Coble on the far sideline.
Once again, what you see is number 12, Barklowski, stepping back, throwing the ball perfectly. Maybe the sun was in the eyes of number 80, Stoop, but it bounced off his hands and it was incomplete.
I tell you, he throws a hard ball, and it's a little tough sometimes, that ball coming out of the glare. And it looked like he was playing on the Olympic volleyball team, trying to set somebody up. That's exactly what it looked like.
That would have been for the kill.
But I tell you what, it was a good play, and it was there.
That almost was the kill. You don't want to be batting the ball up in the defensive secondary. 3rd down and 4 at the 28. Play action. Barglowski to his left, looking for Stoop again. He's out there, and he can't hang on.
Right there, Rich Barglowski threw the ball absolutely perfectly, and the person that's most upset right now is number 80, Dave Stoop. You can see it right here. Steve Stoop, excuse me. Watch this throw right in the hands. And again, I'm not sure whether it was the sun or not, but Stoop looks like he's a tackle that was converted to tight end.
Does have that offensive lineman technique.
Yes, he does, of catching the ball.
Well, they certainly did go back to basics, blocking and tackling, but I don't know whether or not they threw a whole lot of balls to Steve Stoop this week. But there were 2 that he should have handled, and of course, that happens. I'm sure they'll come back and try to get him some confidence. 4th
down and 5 now. Barglowski, good blocking to the sideline. That one's caught. It's close to a 1st down for Cone. It may not be enough. Yes, it will. It looks like they're moving the chains. Had to get right to about the 19, and Cone did that for a 1st down.
Cone showed you the senior leadership. He settled right at the marker and made the reception and just stepped out of bounds for the 1st down.
Clock stopped, 1:13 to go in the 1st quarter. It's Lacey 2 and Pinelands nothing. Pestricello in the game. He is to the left. Here's Sasala inside the 15, spun around and dropped, but he got 9, maybe 10. Stopped by Damon Rossiter.
Right now, Lacey's throwing the ball very well. They're running the ball very well, and they're confusing that defense. The defense can't settle in on any one thing and attack it. And when you do that, when you have the mixture of both the pass and the run, the defense has a very difficult time making big plays and slowing them down.
Nolan lines up as a tight end on this play, and it's a double wing on the left. They'll run it behind those wings. Elias to the 5, keeps the legs going, and he sets up a 1st down and goal for the Lions at about the 3.
Tackles made by number 56, Jim August, senior, who's playing one of the first times this year. See it right here. Number 56 comes across, puts a good hit on 21, Brian Elias.
Now 1st and goal. Let's say the 4-yard line. Same formation as last play for Lacey. Both Vestano and Cone a wing. Here's Elias cutting it in, touchdown. He beat DeLucia, and Brian Elias scooted right in. His 10th touchdown rushing on the year. It's now an 8-0 game.
You can see the replay and just see number 21 make the first person miss, and now he's in the end zone because the double wing sealed off the inside, and if he made the outside guy miss, it was a touchdown.
Now Eric Falk is on. Barglowski puts the snap down, and the kick is true with 23 seconds to go in the 1st quarter. A safety, and Lacey gets the good field position, marches down 50 yards, picks up the touchdown, and it's Lions 9, Wildcats nothing.
Brian Elias picks up his 10th touchdown of the season, and Brian Elias and Gary Sasala have now rushed the ball for about 190 times, 92 of them by Brian Elias, and he's gained almost 500 yards on the season. Gary Sasala about 640 yards, so it's quite a 1-2 combination. And right now, as Tony said, they're doing a nice mix of the run and pass game. They started to take the run away, went to the pass, and loosened things up, particularly off tackle, bouncing outside. And right now, Lacey has things the way they would like.
Looking down in the stands prior to the opening kickoff, I happened to see some red Ocean City jackets, meaning the coaches from Ocean City are up here scouting Lacey for a possible playoff opponent. So the playoff situation and picture is starting to come into focus, and if Lacey wins today, they'll be the #1 seed in South Jersey Group 3, which is an important thing because they'll get the home field advantage, and maybe we'll see something like Woodrow Wilson come here with the return of Ramon Worthy to Ocean County. County, which will be an exciting game for everybody connected with it.
Never any doubt about Ramon Worthy's ability on the football field. He's been able to play a whole season, and he's done very well. Kickoff taken by Vila at the 12, goes right up in the wedge. Casey Mahoney again, one of the first guys down there. The Lacey kickoff coverage team is really one of the top teams we've seen all year. Vila to the 26.
Well, they squeeze everything in, and they have a safety. They make sure that every possible running lane is filled. And Lou Versillo takes a lot of pride in his special teams. And so far, we've seen that special team do an awful lot of good things. And I'm sure it's something that's worked on quite a bit.
Pinelands does not have to snap the ball anymore in this quarter. Clock is ticking down to 3, 2, and they won't get it off. The biggest play of the first quarter came with 4.5 to go when T.J. Hutler trapped Josh Overholt in the end zone for a safety. Lacey followed that with a 50-yard drive. Brian Elias brought it in from 4. And after one quarter, Lacey ahead of Pinelands 9-0.
Adelphia High School football, brought to you by Wallets of Toms River.
Rich Ron and second quarter begins. Pinelands going from right to left. First down at the 27-yard line. The up back, DeLucia. Again, a counter for Pinelands, and DeLucia got about 5.
Which goes right along with the game plan that we had suggested that we might see. The fact is that they're going to try to run some counters and let DeLucia run the football because the Lacey people are keying on 40 Vila. If someone has 1,000 yards, you're going to key on him. There's a reason he has 1,000 yards. He's a good running back, and you want to stop him, and that's what Lacey's trying to do.
Examine the flip side of that after this play. Second down after DeLucia picked up 5 or 6, so it's the second and 4 at the 33. Vila's a single setback on this play. There's the scissors handoff. DeLucia is close to a first down. And let's pick up what we're talking about. There's another reason Jim Vila has close to 1,000 yards. Because he's such a good back, because he carries the ball so much. 33 last week against Freehold Borough. He had a 30 in here against Point Beach. He's the guy that gets the ball. And there's that other school of thought that you got to dance with the one that brung you, so to speak. What about that?
Well, you do, but when you're so well skilled like Lacey is and they will be keyed in on him, sometimes they'll sell everything to take that away, and now you have to counter that and open them up a little bit.
Well, DeLucia did earn the Wildcats a first down to the 37-yard line. Now they give it to Vila, and the Lions are ready. Vila trips out past the 40.
You know, when you play against Lacey, that's not Point Pleasant Beach, and that's not Freehold Borough. You've got a program well established with a lot of big, strong people who are dedicated to getting things done and getting things done well. Not that the other programs aren't, but this is just a little bit more established, and you're running against a very, very tough, well-schooled defense.
Second down and 7 at the 40. Rossiter is to the left. DeLucia, as we've seen more often than not, a wing on the right. Here's Overholt looking. He's going to screen it out there to Vila. Beats the man to the outside, and down the sideline he goes. Vila able to stay in bounds and on his feet. And gets it all the way down to the Lacey 39-yard line.
Jim Vila on that play made 2 people miss by his ability as a running back, and you get an idea of why he's such a good running back. He made the first one miss with a little inside move. can see it right here. Just a quick swing pass. The man running at him just gives him a little inside move. And now watch him get his shoulders in so that Doug Lemanowitz, number 27, couldn't tackle him. Got his shoulders, but he kept his legs going for another couple of yards. You can see why he's gained 1,000 yards.
And the first miss was by Lacey's best football player on defense, Tom Nolan.
So the biggest play of the game for Pinelands, they're down to the Lacey 39. DeLucia was just crunched, and I mean crunched. Mahoney got him high. I believe Coffey came in low, and DeLucia did well to hang on to the football.
I tell you, that's contact. That's football. I tell you, Casey Mahoney, he's going to be a name in Ocean County. Right now, he's just a hard-hitting, raw-bone kind of kid. But down the road, he's going to be able to do a lot of things. They say he is their maybe their best blocking fullback. And of course, because of Brett Vistano hasn't been playing that position. So we'll see next year how he runs that football and blocks.
Gain of 1. Now a shift in the formation. Murray is the wing back. Second down and 9. Overholt chasing the blind side. Throws incomplete. Would not have been worth more than a couple of yards anyhow.
It was an attempt to try to throw it to number 48, the tight end, Devlin Murray, on a quick out. Going back to what Ron was saying about Casey Mahoney, the way he plays would almost make me think about coming back to coach football. He's that exciting as a sophomore defensive player. I mean, I haven't seen a linebacker like that as a sophomore in a number of years. I mean, he's just exciting to watch as a defensive coach. I look at all the things he does, all the big hits he makes, and that excites me.
Lou Versillo said he'll call you, Tony.
I would be interested.
Well, don't call him. He'll get in touch with you. Third down and 9. Overholt over the middle. Dangerous pass. And incomplete. DeLucia was surrounded, and it deflected off his hand and hit the turf.
The reason why it was dangerous is because number 55, Matt Coffey, was putting big pressure on Joshua Overholt and didn't give him an opportunity to set his feet to throw because they had some kind of play action to throw.
Brett Vistano was right there on the play, and if he had just had his head up a little bit, I think he might have been able to have his hands on the football. Good coverage.
Fourth down and 9 at the Lacey 39-yard line. Sanzari is on for a punt. You're down 9-0. I'd be inclined to go with a little razzle-dazzle here if you're Pinelands.
Well, they probably, Lacey, you can see, is expecting razzle-dazzle because they're not even dropping anyone back.
And it is a snap to Vila, the up back, going to throw it back across the field to a well-covered Sanzari, who actually made the reception. It's going to go back further. If he dropped the ball, it just would have been incomplete. But Sanzari caught it, got thrown out of bounds, and Lacey takes over at the Pinelands, rather the Lacey 37.
On that play, you can see the discipline of the Lacey defense. Number 50, T.J. Hutler, didn't go with the fake. He stayed home. When the pass was thrown, he just knocked number 8, Sanzari, out of bounds. You can see it right here. He stays home and just follows the ball, 50, T.J. Hutler. Now, that's 2 big plays in this game for T.J. Hutler.
You're absolutely right. We talked about it before the play. Lacey was ready all the way, stayed in their base defense, basically. Now Lacey, it's third offensive possession from the Lion 47, first down pass. Barklowski has 4 on the pattern, going deep for Nolan. Off his hands and incomplete. Rich Barklowski can't believe what's happening to him in this first half.
Well, I tell you what, I'd take those gloves off Tom Nolan right now, and I would put them in a pile and set them on fire because there's no way in the world that he should have dropped this pass. It's a great throw, great position, right off his hands. I don't know if there was a hand maybe in his face. I'll give him that much maybe, but I think that, he certainly should have had that ball.
Second or third today that Barklowski has laid out there, and the receivers haven't been able to hang on for him. Back to the ground, it's easier. To the run, here's Elias with a penalty marker down. Elias did pick up about 10 yards, but the play is probably coming back.
But once again, with number 28, Brett Vistano throwing that block, you could hear the noise up here, the collision of the pads, and he opened up a hole. But unfortunately, the officials once again are calling a penalty on maybe a phantom clip. Here you can see it right here. And,
He did block him.
You know, that's a good block. And you know what the clip was? The boy turned his back after he was hit originally. That's not a clip.
Are you sure that it was on the lead block?
Well, that's where the flag came.
They call it on Vistano.
He did call it on Vistano because there was another block toward the center of the field.
I saw that, but the flag came out after. You can right here.
Here's another look at it.
Watch Vistano make contact. Now why the boy turns his back and you can see the guy throw the flag right at Vistano. That's, you work 100 hours a week. These guys come out there for 2 hours and mess it all up.
Yet another endorsement for the striped shirts from Tony Somariti. It is second down and long now. Second about 18. Barglowski setting the screen. Connects with Sasal at the 30, but he's in trouble. Submarine to the 36-yard line. This is what we saw happen to Lacey last week against Manchester. The Lions offense moved it well at times, but then when they get penalties, it would become first and long, and they just continue to lose yardage.
Have you seen a kid like Vila be able to do as many things as he can do? I mean, he runs the football, he blocks, he's used today as a decoy, and did you see that open field tackle? I mean, that was just a great tackle. He does an awful lot of things, but you can see how he would certainly, since he looks like the franchise for Pinelands, would be certainly a marked man. But he was a great open field tackle.
Third down and 20 at the Lions 36. Lacey leads 9-0. Barglowski's going for the home run again for Nolan, well covered, and it's incomplete. Nolan had to play defensive back against Francisco Robles that time. Or check that, Brian Brown, 32, not 33.
No, it was 33, but Brian Brown changed his jersey. And that's who that is. Brian Brown making that defensive play, almost making it.
Tell us the stuff before the game.
I think Tommy Nolan could have pushed and come back for the football and still gotten enough for the first down, but there was just too much of a cushion between he and the defensive player on a third and long situation.
Now Barglowski will punt. He's standing at his 22. Pinelands put a little pressure on, but didn't get there. Barglowski's punt hits at the Pinelands 45, goes out of bounds right about there with 7:50 to go in the first half. Lacey leads 9-0.
Well, right now, let's think back. How many touchdown plays has Lou Versillo called today that haven't, how many can you call as a coach? And again, it's the same kind of mistakes, some physical and mental mistakes that they made last week that are hurting them right now. We see the drop pass by Stoop. We see the drop pass by Nolan. They're touchdowns. And a coach, and you only get so many of those in a game, and when you miss those, when you don't put those in the end zone, it gives the other team an opportunity to play with you, and it makes it a much more difficult game than it has to be.
24, Jason Rawa, unless one of the other guys changed his number, only told Tony, and he kept it a secret. Rawa's in the game from the Pinelands 44. Bad pitch. Vila will recover. Looked like that might be heading over his shoulder and back toward the goal line. He knocked it down, and the Wildcats lose 5.
Jim Vila is just a good athlete. He did the smart thing. He got on the football. Watch it right here. It's a bad pitch, and he does the smart thing. Just cover it. Don't try to pick it up and run because you're going to leave it on the ground, and Lacey will recover. Now you come back at second down, and you have an opportunity to do something to get a first down.
As a coach, you can only get them in the right position. And defensively and offensively, the Lacey staff has their people in the right position, but you can't make them do it. You can't do the job for them. They have to do the job. They've got to make the receptions. They've got to make the tackles. They've got to do the blocking.
Here's Overholt, and now a mix-up in the backfield. This one is not going Pinelands' way. He tried to cut it back up the middle. Coffey among the Pinelands tackle, or rather the Lacey tacklers. So was Lobdell. And now Bill Bruno's squad will have third and long.
I think that might have been a design quarterback draw. If you saw Vila came this way to draw the linebackers, and they tried to set up some kind of inside quarterback draw with Joshua Overholt because that's what they want to do. They want to get those linebackers out of the way. If you break the front line with good blocks by the Pineland linemen, Barrett, Savetto, and Foy and Price, then you've got an opportunity for a big gain because those linebackers are going to go with Vila.
Third down and about 13 at the 41. Overholt reorganizing his troops. Has the backs in the eye, and he spent a little too much time reorganizing. And now a delay of game call will make it 5 yards tougher.
Another thing that Ed Heffernan does with his defense is on second and third and long situations, they'll play 5 under, and they'll play zone with the 2 deep safeties. And what that does, it takes care of screens, draws, except there's one guy that's not covered, and that's the quarterback. So the quarterback draw in second and third and long situations is a pretty good call. That's why it did gain some yardage.
Cats need to get it all the way down to the Lacey 45-yard line. They're at their own 36. Overholt to the far side, complete, short of a first down. Rossiter has it at the Pinelands 46, so it's still about 9 yards short of a first, and it will be a punt for Pinelands. The Lacey defense has had a terrific season, 3 shutouts. Manchester moved the ball surprisingly well last week, but the Lions' defensive dominance has returned today.
But last week, Pinelands was playing freehold. They weren't playing Lacey. And gaining 400 yards, close to 400 yards last week is a little different than running for 400 yards against the Lacey defense.
Pinelands, yardage-wise, the 5th best offense in Ocean County. They have a nice grinded-out attack. Senzori had trouble with the snap, punts it away. Pestricello watches it go out, and Lacey will get it back outside their own 30. 5:15 to go in the first half. A safety, a touchdown, and a point after, and Lacey's ahead by 9.
Getting back to what Rich was saying, the yardage gained by Pinelands and how they rank high in the county. Well, that's been the case since Bill Bruno's taken over. He has had a good offensive attack based on the running game. Last year with Amato, this year with Vila, and maybe next year with number 35, DeLucia, who's only a junior, as the key runner.
Vistano and Sasala in the backfield. Maybe not the backfield Barglowski was looking for, because after a brief discussion with his running backs, the Lions called for time. That's the first time out used up by Lacey. They have 2 remaining. Before the ball game, we were able to chat with Lou Versilla. We were talking a little bit about the relative advantages and disadvantages of going with 2 backs. First, I want to get your thoughts. You have 2 great backs like that, who you both consider tailbacks in Sasala and Elias. Do you want to alternate them, or do you want to have them both on the field at the same time?
I probably, if they're 2 good athletes, I try to get them on the field as much as possible together, because I always wanted to put my best players on the field at all times. But there's also an advantage because Brian Elias plays defense. It gives you a chance to give him a blow. I know that if you are involved both offensively and defensively, by the second half you start to feel some fatigue, and it can affect your ability.
All right, Lou Versilla, really only in 1 game use them together. Let's hear what he said about it.
Against South, because of their ability to run inside and outside, using a fullback in our inside game with a runner like Sasala gave us a little bit more than with our other fullbacks, because our other fullbacks do play defense and they're primarily blockers. But Brian Elias is coming off a very serious injury from 1991, where he had a reconstructive surgery, and the knee is very strong, but the atrophy is still there. So, early on, he didn't have quite the stamina to go totally both ways, and we've built him up, I think, to now, where he can play a lot more.
I tell you, that would have been very difficult.
I don't know if that one would go down to the drop category, but Dave Pestricello had a chance on Barglowski's toss.
It would have been a tough catch. It was one of those situations where Barglowski was flushed out, sees a lot of people converging, does get the ball. Petricello makes a great effort. If it would have connected, it would have been a real good play. But I don't think you can fault either player for the incompletion.
Coach Versilla talking about Brian Elias' knee injury. He was an emotional kid, very down last year, but he's bounced back and had a great senior season. Here's Elias hitting the backfield. DeLucia finally finished him off for a loss of 1. The Pinelands defense, which held nicely on the last series after a penalty, has forced Lacey into 3rd and 11 this time.
Well, once again, what happens is, as Ron has mentioned in the previous games, when you throw the ball on first down and don't have a completion, you're in trouble, because now you've got 2 downs to get 10 yards, and you're kind of locked into doing certain things. And what happens is now it's 3rd and 11 for Lacey, and they are in big trouble. Now Pinelands can kind of pretty much sit on the pass and expect it.
Double wing right. Fake to Sasala. Barglowski looking way downfield, throwing the bomb again for Stoop, and he cannot hang on to this one. He did take a hit from Brown. Barglowski doesn't know what to do. He just got a consolation for one of his offensive linemen, Jerry Carraz. It has been no fault of Rich Barglowski, who has shown off his arm more than I've ever seen, and he just can't connect. And he may stop going for Stoop.
And he just drops it right in. He's going to sue him for non-support.
But you wouldn't think you'd be sending Stoop 40 yards down the field either.
That's the play that's open. That's what you got to take. They're not putting pressure or covering the tight end, so you got to use them.
Barklowski with not one of his better punts, and again, look out for Pinelands. Boy, guys have to watch that. That thing lands on you, it's going to be the other team's ball probably. It goes out of bounds, and Pinelands will have just over 4 minutes to try to get on the board before halftime. Lacey ahead 9-0.
The philosophy of the play that we've seen Steve Stoop drop 2 times now is a bootleg or a roll away from the tight end, which brings the defensive back up into the quarterback's face as soon as he recognizes it, and sending the defense or the offensive tight end down to that area that had been occupied by that defensive back. And I'm sure Steve Stoop can catch that football if he's looking directly at it. It's running and getting those arms out to catch that football that he's having difficulty with. You might see Tom Nolan take that tight end spot and run that same pass down the road.
First down to the 37 now. That's a lateral. That's a loose ball, I believe. And Vila didn't go after it. And it goes out of bounds. It'll be Pinelands' ball. I don't know if anyone on the field was alert to that. Ed Heffernan was. Boy, is he angry at his defense. Clearly an overhand lateral, and that's anybody's football. Vila let it go and treated it like a left fielder might have foul ball.
Well, exactly what happened is the ball, as long as the ball, and you can watch it right now, Overholt's throwing the ball and it's back. It doesn't matter how you throw it. If it's going back behind you, that's a lateral. And Ed Heffernan was yelling at 47, Tom Nolan, get on that, pick it up. You can run it into the end zone. We scored a touchdown way back when against Monsignor Donovan when one of our boys picked up a lateral and ran it into the end zone for a touchdown. Helped us win a football game.
2nd and 20, a draw, loose football, but they are going to say that Vila was down. He was smashed. Tim McDowell, I believe, got him.
Tim McDowell and other Gerard Caruso and Lopdell and Casey Mahoney, they're all in there. And Ed Heffernan, you can see the replay right here. See number 70, Tim McDowell? Yep. And of course at the top you can see number 50, TJ Hutler. All those boys are involved. And Ed Heffernan wanted to make sure we mentioned Tim McDowell and Gerard Caruso and the outstanding job they've done on the defense. You don't hear their names a great deal, but they're getting double teamed all the time, opening up tackles for other people to make.
The Lacey defense lately has been getting as many yards as the Lacey offense. It's 3rd and 25, back at the 22, under 3 to go in the second quarter. Keeping it on the ground, Vila with a good run. That might push him over 1,000 for the season. We will check our unofficial statistics. Vila got it out to about the 34-yard line. He needed 21 yards coming in, and he had 19 before that carry. So Jim Vila, we believe, has just gone over the 1,000-yard mark. Only the 3rd running back in Pinelands history to achieve that feat. But Pinelands will be looking at another punt with the line of scrimmage to 34. It's 4th and 13. And Sanzari is on again. Lacey did not call timeout, so the clock ticks. 2:10 and counting. Sanzari's punt hits at the 42. Nice play by Pestricello. They said he was down on one knee. I'd like to see that replay. Pestricello thought he was still alive, but they rule him down, and Lacey starts at the 34-yard line.
Well, it didn't look like he was down to us up here, but he may have been. The official was a lot closer to the play than we were. If we get a chance to see it, we might be able to see whether that knee is down or not. You see the big bounce. Yeah, it was down. Yeah, right, it was a good call.
They begrudgingly admit with 2:01 to go, now the clock starts again.
1 out of 2 isn't bad.
You know, Lacey coming into the game wanted to stop Pinelands' power game. Didn't want them to control the football. They've done that. They wanted to be able to run the football. Is having a little difficulty. They're jamming the line of scrimmage, but is throwing the ball very well, except for one thing. They can't catch the ball. But the whole game plan right now, I think, is going to start to fit together very shortly.
2 tight ends set. We're down to 1:30 to go. And a flag comes down before the snap. And I guess Lacey's in no rush. too much time.
Delay a game penalty. And Rich, remember last week we talked about not trying to score too quickly or give the other team an opportunity. And right before halftime, Lacey went for it on 4th and 5 in the quarter, and Barglowski got sacked. And then what happened? Manchester comes down and scores. Lacey wants to score, but they're more interested right now in not giving Pinelands an opportunity to score. So you can't be careless in this situation, because give the enemy an opportunity to get back in the game.
Lions do lead 9-0. Now it's 1st and 15 at the 30, but Barglowski will pass the slant, and Stoop makes a fantastic catch. 3 go through his hands, and then he gets hit high, hit low, leaps, and grabs it.
I tell you, I'm glad he made that catch. I mean, we certainly made our negative comments about him dropping the ball, but he made a great catch here, and he made sure he was going to hold on to it, and he made sure everybody understands he can catch the footballs, particularly catching it thrown directly to him.
At the 38 now, 2nd down, Barglowski stumbled but stayed on his feet, does it again, and now throws incomplete.
I tell you, this crown of this field causes more problems for quarterbacks. When you roll to the right or left, it's like you're running downhill. I mean, there's twice that he had to sort of gather himself under because his momentum was driving. Watch him right now. He runs here, tries to get away, and now slips again. And a lot of it has to do with the contour of the field. But again, you've got to give Pinelands credit. They did put a lot of pressure on him.
Are there any sort of regulations about how steep the crown can be?
I guess as long as when you fall down you don't hurt yourself too bad. I really don't think there is any kind of ruling, obviously, because this would be very close to the absolute limit of crown.
3rd and 7 now at about the 38. Barglowski to the sideline. Pestricello got it on a bounce. And now Lacey will be punting.
Lacey's thrown the ball quite a bit today, and that's the first bad pass we've seen from number 12, Rich Barglowski. Other than that, he's been on the money. He has done an outstanding job in this first half of throwing that football. But again, what I see today is a little bit of impatience on the Lacey staff's part of trying to get quick scores, and that kind of breaks the philosophy that I usually expect from Lou Versillo and his staff. They're usually very, very patient, and talking to Lou before the game, he mentioned that they were impatient last week.
But you also have to take what the defense gives you, and if the defense is there and allowing you not to run the football because they're giving you an 8- and 9-man front, I think the frustrating part of it is, hey, it's there. It's been a drop pass. Now all of a sudden, now we're back in 2nd and long, and you put yourself in the hole just like we talked about before. But hey, you get 2 scores out of those 2 passes that were dropped. It's a different ball game. Now you go back to your running game. But it looks like Pinelands is creating some problems, and maybe the Lacey people are creating some of their own problems.
And the Wildcats are in no rush. They're letting the clock run down. They're now a big play offense. 25 seconds to go. Draw play. Vila slips over the line, and that takes more punishment. Tom Nolan with a hard hit. 15 seconds to go. I don't think Pinelands will snap it anymore. It was interesting the way Lou Versillo and Lacey played it. They kind of hedged their bets because they didn't call the times out. But then they did pass the ball after letting a lot of time tick down. And it's a good thing for them that they didn't call the timeouts because the offense didn't go anywhere.
Well, that's the purpose. You want to give yourself an opportunity to score, but you don't want to give the opposing team an opportunity to score, and that's what they did. They kicked the ball away. There was no big loss there.
A scoreless second quarter after Lacey put up a 9 in the first period. T.J. Hutler tackling Overholt in the end zone for 2. Ryan Elias dashing in from 4. The extra point made it 9-0. That's where we stand. Halftime festivities are upcoming at the half. Lions 9, Wildcats nothing.
Adelphia High School football, brought to you by Wallets of Toms River.
Rich Steigman, flanked by Ron Emmert and Tony Sermarini here at Lacey Township, where the Lacey Lions lead Pinelands 9-0 at the half. Now, throughout that first half here in the press box, we were treated by hearing the Lacey band right below us. Right now, they're on the field, and you're treated by getting a look and listen. Enjoy. And among the many excellent performances in that first half for Lacey, T.J. Hutler, he was the guy that put the first 2 points on the board.
You see a roll to the right by Overholt. T.J. Hutler just hangs on, and of course now it's a 2-0 game. They've got to kick off and gives it back to the offense.
Lacey took advantage of that after a kick out of bounds. They wound up with the ball at midfield and went on the best drive of the game. There hasn't been a lot of movement for either team. Lacey has looked okay offensively, but Rich Borglowski has suffered a few drops. They did come up with a 50-yard touchdown drive. Brian Elias bringing it in from 4 to make it 9-0. Then in the second quarter, on a little swing pass, Jim Vila was able to bring the ball down into Lacey territory. They were stopped on 4th and 9, went for a fake punt, and again, 50 Hutler was the guy who read it.
You watch the replay of the fake punt, and we get the fake here by Sanzeri, and now he comes out the backside, and T.J. Hutler reads it perfectly and knocks him out of bounds, and you can see the congratulations that T.J. Hutler gets from Coach Ed Heffernan.
The Lions will start with the football first in the second half, going from left to right and looking directly into the sun to receive the kickoff of Chris Fawcett. Pestricello didn't pick it up right away, but now he does grab it at the 13, sprinting to the near sideline, and he's out to the 28, 29-yard line. That's where the Lions take over. Rich Borglowski, you guys were very impressed with how he threw the ball, although only had a few completions, a few balls through the hands of different receivers. Lacey has emphasized the pass the last couple of weeks. Ron, do you think they'll keep throwing the football here in the second half, or try to get back and establish the run?
I think they'll try the run. I think whatever the defense gives them, they're going to take advantage of. That's the kind of coach Lou Versillo is, and the defense will dictate the particular offensive scheme that he likes.
Sasala and Vestano, the starting backfield, quick pitch. Sasala cutting in, finding room, and has about 9. Strong run for the junior running back, Gary Sasala. They'll be back next year.
You know, both these running backs, Tony, have different styles, but basically they're both people who keep their heads up and look for that little cutback or the move right or left to gain that extra yardage. But it seems like Elias might be a little bit more upright, and Gary Sasala just a little bit more, forward lean.
I thought they had a first down on that play, and Sasala just missed it. I think that they both look for the cutback like most good backs, because that's where you get your big plays.
Elias has a first down. He only needed a couple of feet. He got about 3 yards after the 42. Barrett Cervetto makes the tackle.
You got to be impressed so far with the things that have gone wrong for Pinelands, but they've hung in there defensively, and they've put some serious hits on the Lacey running back, and they've kept themselves in the game. Of course, they've been helped by some of the drop passes, too.
You got to look at Bill Bruno. He in the gray sweatshirt, coming down from Monmouth County in his 4th season as head coach of Pinelands. 18 wins, 17 losses. Sasala back in there. 2 tight ends. First down at the Lacey 42. Here's Sasala. A hole for Sasala. First down and more into Pinelands territory. And he keeps those legs driving down to the Wildcat 43. Gary Sasala, one of the leading rushers in Ocean County. Here's a look at that list. Vila, we mentioned, second behind Ryan Concord. Just 2 yards shy of 1,000 from Monsignor Donovan. And there you see Sasala splitting time in the backfield, unlike all the rest of those guys, and still the 7th leading rusher in the area.
And then if you add the 460 yards that Brian Elias has, now you have somebody that's well over 1,000 yards. So that they do what they have to do and give those boys plenty of action. They both get plenty of carries, and they still are rested.
Timeout was called, I believe, by Pinelands. And we'll get a look at the strong run of Sasala.
and watch some of the blocking. You lead the lead block by number 28, Gary Vistano, and Brett Vistano, and he just knocked people over to open the hole for Gary Sasala.
You know, the one thing that helped Gary Sasala was really the injury to Brian Elias last year that forced him into the starting tailback position. Of course, with Elias coming back and being a defensive player, spending most of his time on that side of the football, Gary Sasala has come into his own and, of course, is complemented very nicely by Brian Elias when need be.
It was a Pinelands timeout. Glenn Demery trying to settle things down before it gets out of hand. Lacey ahead 9-0. Another score would be a killer for Pinelands, the way Lacey's defense is played.
Exactly. The defense has been outstanding. Maybe you can get one, maybe two. If you get up and you need 3 scores, it doesn't look like Pinelands is going to be able to do that against this outstanding defense played by Lacey today.
First down at the Pinelands 43-yard line. It's Elias in the game this time. Cone coming around, takes the handoff, has room, and a nice tackle prevented a big gainer. He got it to about the 38, and Ryan Salento prevented Cone from maybe taking it the distance.
You know, what Pinelands, their game preparation defensively was to slant the linemen and bring the defensive ends down real hard to the inside, and that's what's taking away the inside running game. But that time, Tom Nolan was able to hook up and block the defensive end out and just sort of rode him right out of the play, creating that inside running lane for that good run by Sasala.
Second down and 4 at the Pinelands 37-yard line. Barglowski comes short, and the ball was tipped and incomplete. I believe it was Murray that got in there and got a hand on the ball. Jeremy Price was also around Barglowski, who had an open man. That time he couldn't get it to him.
Well, deflection by the lineman putting his hands up. Getting back to what you were referring to before about the good defense played by Lacey. Lacey is number 5 in the Shore in overall defense, only giving up 150 yards a game, whereas Pinelands is all the way down at 31st, and they give up 270 yards a game. So the difference in the disparities in the defenses, Lacey has one of the better defenses in the Shore area.
Pestricello and Coble in the game. Sasalo was pulled down short of a first down by a couple of yards. Nice play by Jeremy Price, the biggest guy on the football field at 5'11", 280, and it's 4th and 2 for Lacey.
Jeremy Price's father, John Price, played for us at Southern Regional High School, as did Steve Servetto, Barrett Servetto's father, number 50, the offensive center. But they weren't near as big as their sons.
John Price might have been 170 pounds.
I tell you, their sons are large people.
4th and 2. Lacey goes for a quick count. Elias has it and more. Elias to the 20. Couldn't get all the way. He got past Brown. But then Salento made a saving tackle at the 2 on a very pretty run for Brian Elias.
Some great cuts by Brian Elias on that. Some great strength in pulling away from tackles. And you can, and the final play, the final tackle was made by Ryan Salento, who came a long distance to tackle Brian Elias before he got into the end zone. And it's, what we have, as Ron said, in the second half, Lacey's coming out and reestablishing the ground game, trying to punish them. And if you can punish them, one of the benefits you get from the running game is you punish the other team, and you not only beat them on the scoreboard, but you beat them physically where they're let down, and you'll be able to run away with the game.
I'm sorry, Rich. I think Rich Stratton, the offensive line coach, got together with his offensive lineman and said, hey, you're the guys who are going to make things go in the second half. I don't care if most of you are sophomores or not. At this point in the season, you're not sophomores any longer, so let's fire off the ball and take it to their side of the line of scrimmage, and that's what's happening right now.
Lacey's taking the second half kickoff, marching to the Pinelands 3. Elias on a hesitation finds pay dirt. 2 touchdowns last week for Brian Elias, 2 more today, and Lacey increases its lead. It is now 15-0.
You got to give some credit to those linemen. Chuck Boyer, the center, Rich Diab, one of the guards, and Dave Lopdell, along with Jerry Carraz and Matt Coffey, are opening those holes to permit Brian Elias to get these yards.
Now here's Eric Falk. 12 20 extra points on the year for him. Good snap, good spot, good kick. And the fight song of Notre Dame going off again here. It's now 16-0.
Thank goodness we're not at Notre Dame now. From the reports that we get, there's a blizzard out there in South Bend in the Penn State Notre Dame game. I'll tell you what, if it was a blizzard, I'd be home with my heater on.
You'd be right here. We know the kind of dedication you have to the task.
Not when my toes are cold, Rich.
I tell you, you saw some real nice running by both of the running backs from Lacey that time, and some outstanding blocking on the line of scrimmage. And it sort of took away from, I zeroed in on Mike Foy on the defensive line. He plays nose guard for Pinelands, and he's doing a heck of a job defensively. They're really not running at his area at all. They're running off tackle, running outside, except on that touchdown. They ran right up inside. But he's playing a very, very good football game at the defensive nose tackle.
Now the cheerleaders tossing some footballs into the crowd down below us. Lou Versillo told us before the game that Gary Sisella had been sick, that he's playing with a fever today, and that he would want to feature Elias more. Well, certainly Sisella's seen his time in there, but Elias has had more success and maybe a little more playing time. 16-0. Very uphill battle for the Wildcats at this point. Jason Dunn kicks it off. And Joe Falzone chased way back, and now he's got to face that great coverage, but he breaks through. Falzone finally stopped by Pestricello out of the 39-yard line. For 2 weeks, we've been praising the kick coverage of Lacey, and Falzone was able to let them run past the play that time.
It looked like he was going down the sideline, and all of a sudden he was cut back, and Petricello was right in good position. Here you see the replay. Watch, he almost falls down himself. His knee almost touches, bounces past. As he works his way up, you see Petricello just sort of keeping him on his inside shoulder, and then he makes the tackle.
So Falzone brings it to the 40-yard line. Joshua Overholt, who's thrown more touchdown passes than anyone in Pinelands history, starts it out. No one behind him as Vila goes out in motion. Quarterback draw, it's not going to work. Matt Coffey spills all over the quarterback after a loss of 3.
That was similar to that play in the first half, Rich, where we weren't sure whether it was a broken play or not. What they do is send Vila in motion to get the linebackers out, and they try to block and spring Overholt back on the draw, quarterback draw up the middle. What happens is 55 Coffey and TJ Hutler coming from the defensive end position just close in, and there's no gain.
Here's Ed Heffernan on the sideline. Get his defense into the right positions.
2nd and 13, Pinelands getting in the right position. Back to the eye. Fake to Vila. Overholt stops, fires. Incomplete. Murray should have had it at the Lacey 45. It's a cold day. That might be part of the problem for receivers today.
It's not that cold, and they should catch those balls. I think that Devlin Murray will be the first to tell you that he should have caught the ball. And if we look at the quarterbacks, the way they're throwing today, it's been outstanding. You watch Overholt set up, step up, and deliver the ball right on the numbers, and it just wasn't caught. That pass has to be caught, or else you can't really run your offense.
Overall, just a junior, started last year as a sophomore, transferring out of the state of Indiana. His arm strength has improved quite a bit since last year. Another 3rd and very long. It's been the whole story for Pinelands today. Overholt throwing it, diving, attempt, and catch, but short of a first down of Phil Zampino at the 43-yard line. It'll be 7 yards short of a first down, and another punt for the Wildcats.
Our quarterbacks today are really throwing the ball well. You see Overholt come out, and he's under pressure, and he still delivers the ball. He's under pressure. See the pressure, big pressure, and he still is able to deliver the ball, and the catch is made by 26 Phil Zampino.
Sanzari on, he's standing at his 27-yard line, 10 up near the line of scrimmage for Lacey.
Anything up in the air is going to be tough to see.
A line drive, and Pestricello gets away from it. Some pushing and shoving going on back at midfield, but that breaks up. And the ball down at the Lacey 21-yard line. Halfway through this 3rd quarter, Lacey has added another score, and the Lions, looking to make it 8-0 on the year, lead 16-0.
You know, one thing we know about athletes, it's difficult to go at 100% all the time. And looking out on the field as we watch the change from offense to defense, you see a lot of different players come in for Lacey. You don't see that big change on Pinelands side. Certain people are on the field all game. I don't think I've seen number 40 Vila off, or DeLucia off, or Barrett, Servetto, DeLucia, or excuse me, you can see number 40 right now getting a break, but most of the game they're on the field and they're starting to wear down.
Big hit on that first down carry.
Lou Brasilla feels as though if he can get 17 football players into the game during the course of a game, that he can be in a lot of games. That's his philosophy, and he's been able to do that the last 4 or 5 years, and this year is no different. So he gives a lot of experience to a lot of people, and as Tony said, they just don't have the numbers. They have a numbers problem at Pinelands, and it wears you down, particularly in the third and fourth quarter.
Sasala was rocked for no gain. Now he's in the game with Elias. Barglowski won't use either one of them. Instead he throws, and Sasala picks up a few after the 24, and Lacey has a 3rd and 7 upcoming.
Tackle was made by number 45, Alan Vogel, the Rover, made a sure tackle to hold Sasala to a very short gain. You know, we look at big tackles like Barrett, Servetto, and Jeremy Price. Those boys are big. They're carrying a lot of weight around. To go both ways and to be on special teams takes a great deal out of them. There's a lot of spelling being done. The offensive line and defensive line for Lacey are different. Those boys get a break, and they're able to be refreshed in the third and fourth quarters.
Passing situation, 3rd and 7. Nolan, a tight end on the right, slot left. Barglowski sends 4 men out, tries to run for it, but Jim Vila doesn't let him. Vila either was spying on the quarterback or planning out rushing, but anyhow, he tackled Barglowski at the 26, and Pinelands forces a 3 and out.
That's you can see their defense right here. You see some good blocking, and there just must have been, because he had plenty of time, he just must have seen a hole, and they didn't account on the quickness of Vila to track him down.
He was the one at the bottom of the screen. It'll bounce off the block of Nolan and make the play. Now Barglowski to punt. Some pressure up the middle, but he gets the punt away. Mike Foy came right in after him. It goes out of bounds on the Pineland side of the midfield stripe, but just by a couple of yards. 3:55 to go in the third. Lacey 16 and Pinelands nothing.
Last year, Mike Foy was All B South nose guard, and you know, he's definitely a leader on both sides of the line of scrimmage. 6'2", 220, and you know, I mentioned before zeroing in on him as nose tackle. That time he almost blocked the punt, so he's really a very versatile football player for Pinelands.
Pinelands, see if they keep it in the air. Well, they'll go to the ground on first down. Vila, every time he's been hit, you could hear it in the press box. He got it to midfield there.
That's partially the Lacey hitting, but also the fact is Jim Vila on every carry tries to deliver a little message of his own. So the combined effort leads to loud collisions.
Seven carries we have Vila for, 30 yards today. Right at midfield, 2nd down and 7. Vila single setback. Overhaul on play action. Going toward the sideline, knocked away and nearly intercepted. He was trying to hit DeLucia, and it just seems like there's 3 blue shirts in the secondary for every one white one.
Well, Ed Heffernan had talked to me this week that they were very unhappy with their linebacker drops last week against Manchester. Manchester kept completing the same passes because they were doing a poor job of their linebacker drops. Watch right now. Tom Nolan drops perfectly and gets his hand up. He looked open, but Nolan stepped in from the outside when Overholt delivered the ball and was able to knock it away. And Nolan was upset that he couldn't make the interception. He made an excellent defensive play.
Salento flanks to the left, 2 tight ends on 3rd and 7. Overholt, pump fakes, hit as he throws, loose football, and recovered by Lacey. Just as he went to throw it, Overholt was hit and the ball slipped out of his hand.
Looked like T.J. Hutler. I mean, there's a lot of big plays by T.J. Hutler today, and of course that whole defensive line just sort of swarmed all over Holt.
Here we go, the replay right now. You watch it right now. Okay, and it's either Brett Vistano, number 28, and I think that might be who has it, or number 50, T.J. Hutler.
Hutler didn't make the hit. Yeah, he was one of the guys in there looking to recover the fumble. It doesn't matter to Lacey. The Lions lead by 16. They have it at the Pinelands 39. Barklowski puts it in the stomach of Gary Sasala, who brings it to the 32-yard line.
And the blocking at the point of attack was number 55, Matt Coffey, who's just having a fine game today.
I think the Pinelands defense overall has played pretty well today. They haven't really gotten the support they need from their offense. Pinelands defense has been on the field most of the game. 2nd and 3. Pitch to Elias. Far sideline. First down. Staying on his feet. Ball came loose at the very end of the play, but they'll say that Elias was down. I think he fell on it anyhow. And it's a first down for Lacey at about the 20.
I tell you, they keep their legs going, both backs. We talked about their styles being a little different, looking for cutbacks, both of them keeping their heads up. But I tell you, they both give a lot of second effort.
You see the replay here. You see the lead block by number 19, Fred Coble, and you see number 21 make people miss.
Here's Elias, able to spin off Vila. He didn't get very far.
Ball's loose.
The Pinelands player is kind of excited over there on the far sideline, but I think Lacey's going to keep it again. You know, this Pinelands defense, with the exception of the one game against Central, that was a disaster in all areas. Boy, Pinelands thought that should have been their ball. Glenn Demery's coming out on the field. Here comes the defensive coordinator for Pinelands. The Wildcats call timeout, and Glenn Demery looks something like a baseball manager coming out there. You just don't see this in football very often, coming right out onto the field.
We're going to see a yellow flag very shortly, I would think.
You know, he is the head baseball coach.
Is he going to kick dirt on home
Yeah,
plate?
this is boy, that was a timeout he used. I don't think he said 2 words to his defensive unit.
Well, you know, I think he was saying what he wanted to his defensive unit with his back to them and looking at the officials, because if he had said anything directly to the officials, then there would have been a yellow flag.
So that was just all for the camera's benefit, you think?
No, I think it was for your benefit, so you could see what a baseball coach coaching football would do in that situation.
As a coach, you have to make the officials know that you think they made a mistake, because you want them to realize that they made a mistake, or you think they made a mistake. So hopefully you'll get a call in your favor later on in the game.
And you also have to show your team that you're out there and you support what they've done and the effort they've given. And if it's a bad call, let them know it was a bad call also.
2nd and 9 at the Pinelands 18-yard line. Sasala with Vistano leading. Penalty flag comes down, so that
There's
timeout.
The call. There's
Timeout may be well
call.
used.
You know, you ask them to you think you've gotten a poor call, and I don't think they do it consciously, but subconsciously they start to look for something that the other team did, and they make it up, and here it is. You call a timeout, you get a 15-yard penalty. That's a good deal.
So just to be clear on this, Ron, what you suspect is that after fearing what he got was a bad call and thinking that his defense had gotten the ball back for Pinelands offense, and Glenn Demery called timeout, raced onto the field, got about 2 feet from the officials with his defense to his back, and yelled encouragement to his defense.
I don't think he directly yelled at the official, or they would have thrown a flag. I mean, whatever he said evidently didn't offend the officials, but it did get his point across, and they just got a 15-yard penalty out of it in favor of Pinelands.
I'm not questioning what you're saying. I'm just fascinated by it. At the 29-yard line now, it's 2nd down and 20. Barklowski trying to run for it. He is sacked back at the 31-yard line. Jim Vila, aside from his offensive accomplishments, you guys discussed it in the first half, he's been the best defensive player on the field for Pinelands today.
Well, he's been all over the field, and as I said, when I mentioned he doesn't come off the field much, the next thing we see is off the field. But they try to spell him occasionally because he's the center of their offense, and he's been very active defensively today. You see right here, Bargolowski rolling out the block by Lobdell, number 60, and he steps up. And of course, coming from the backside is number 40, Jim Vila. He uses his quickness on defense also.
Down to 35 seconds to go in the third quarter. 3rd and 22. Going for it all for Nolan. Well covered and incomplete. Textbook coverage by Ryan Salento.
Once again, the ball is delivered, not perfectly, but very, very well by number 12, Bargolowski, and Salento was just in a good position and wouldn't let it go. You look at right here. He sets up and throws. He's got good action on the ball. It was just a little bit short because 47 Nolan had a step, but Salento was in excellent position.
Lacey calls for time now. There isn't much you can do here other than go for it on 4th and 22 at the 31. Let's take a look at some of those PowerPoint standings as we get set for the playoffs next week. Lacey Township, we mentioned, is in the top spot in South Jersey Group 3, and a win will wrap that up. The Ocean City coaches we mentioned are here. They don't think they'll have to see Lacey next week, but you never know, because after Lacey it gets very tight. Egg Harbor in 3rd, Woodrow Wilson with the Ocean County product, Ramon Worthy, in 4th place. And then after you take a look at the 4 teams that would make it if it began as of yesterday, look how close everybody is. Another Ocean County team, Brick Memorial, still in the hunt with 44.75 points, and we take it all the way down to 10. Toms River South did get the win last night over Central, but unless they get some help, it won't be enough.
Brick Memorial has a chance if they beat Matawan, because they're a Group 3 school that's 6-1. It would be 12 power points, but they'd also need help. Absecami'd have to lose, and somebody else would have to lose for Brick Memorial to get in. But Lacey will be assured of the top seed with a win today.
Bargolowski will loosen up that right arm and probably go way downfield again on 4th and 23 over the middle, and Stoop looked to be hit early. A penalty flag comes down. This one will be coming back. Pass is intercepted and taken down hard on the sideline is Damon Rossiter. I don't think Mike Foy appreciated the hit because Foy looked like he was going after one of the Lions players. The flag has got to be pass interference. Stoop was tackled as the ball was in path. And now the officials will sort it out with 19 ticks left in the third quarter.
Steve Stoop, number 80, was running the streak pattern right down the middle. The ball was delivered very well, and he was just hit early. There's no opportunity for Steve Stoop to catch that football. And, we have to go back to Steve Stoop, and he dropped a couple of passes in the first half right here. You can see the early hit right there. You can see he's hit much too early, and the interception is negated by that penalty. And then you see some problems on the sideline. Mike Foy coming up to throw a block, and people thought it might have been a little bit late. But, in Steve Stoop's defense, here's a boy that spends his day blocking. He's all banged up. His hands are all nicked up. It's tough for a tight end sometimes to make those fingertip receptions because he's got those gnarled fingers and beat up hands.
Brian Brown was the one that committed the penalty. A difference between this and pro football, check that. It is an automatic first down. With some penalties, not an automatic first down, but this one is. So it will be a 1st and 10 for Lacey, although they didn't actually make it to where they had to go with the penalty. It's marked to the 15-yard line, but it is a 1st and 10 for Lacey. Ahead 16-0 and getting a big break on a 4th and long prayer. And now Elias hesitating and going wide, and only getting a couple, and he's taken down out of bounds by a combination of Rossiter and Salento.
The interior defense by Pinelands right now is really squeezing off any kind of tackle attempts and runs, and you're going to probably see a lot of block down, seal off, and kick out. That time, of course, with the defensive ends not allowing anything outside, he was forced to go out of bounds. So you might see something to the wide side of the field.
2nd and 8, tight set. Sasala takes it up the middle. Got wrapped by Brown close to the 5-yard line. That should be the final play of the third quarter. So they'll take it all the way down to the left of your screen, and Lacey will try to punch it in when we're back. The Lions add to their lead in this third quarter on a well-conceived drive after the kickoff. Brian Elias' second touchdown made it a 16-0 game, and that is where we stand with 12 minutes to go. Back with the fourth after this.
Adelphia High School football, brought to you by Wallets of Toms River.
Been plenty to cheer about for those cheerleaders at Lacey today. 12 minutes to go. The Lions have been in control. If we were keeping time of possession up here, it'd be very one-sided. It's 16-0 on the scoreboard, and time of possession, I bet you Lacey has it twice the amount Pinelands has had.
They definitely do, and they've controlled most of the action here in the second half.
On 3rd and a yard, a flag comes down before the first snap. Somebody came across or moved. It's against Pinelands, and that will give Lacey a 1st and goal. A shot at the real brain trust there for Pinelands. On the left, Demery, the defensive coordinator. In the green, Lutoff, the offensive coordinator. And behind him, Bill Bruno in the sweatshirt.
That's Pete Fabian with his arms crossed. And I thought Pete was leaving to go to a wedding.
The same fate befell starting linebacker Bob Kittrick.
Yes, it did. And it's, you know, it makes Pinelands switch people around, something they don't want to do.
Over Lobdell and Coffey.
Elias with a 3rd touchdown of the day. As Ron said, going behind the seniors. And Brian Elias brings it in from 3, his 3rd short touchdown burst. And Lacey has an absolutely commanding lead. By the time anybody could hit him, he was in.
Does that look like, was that Vestano or Casey Mahoney in there as the lead back who sealed off?
I thought it was Vestano, 28.
I think it probably was.
Now Falk. High and good.
The program they have.
Lacey 23, Pinelands nothing.
The program that they have at Lacey with their freshman program, their JV program, and people like Casey Mahoney, you know, the future looks very, very bright because down at the Pop Warner, there's a little Elias playing. Kevin Elias, he'll be the 3rd brother to play here at Lacey, and I mentioned that to Lou pre-game, and he smiled because he knew that he has another good Elias coming along down the road.
What is it about Lou bringing the Notre Dame feel to Lacey here? Not only the fight song, but you'll never see Coach Versillo on the sideline without that Notre Dame cap of his. Well, what's that all about?
Well, you know, he really has a lot of adulation for a lot of coaches. I don't think they're the present coaches at Notre Dame, but I think when he was growing up, I think there were a lot of boys who were really all Notre Dame. I know Tony was that way when he was growing up, and there's a lot of people in at that point where they want to be football players who really like Notre Dame. I do know that Lou is a great Vince Lombardi fan. Of course, Vince Lombardi really had no connection with Notre Dame, but he was a great Vince Lombardi fan, and he gives a Vince Lombardi award to his players at the end of the season. So I'm sure it has some kind of personal effect. We'll have to sort of wait and see.
Vila from the 10, out past the 30.
Here it is late into the fourth quarter, and Jim Veal is still running very, very hard.
The playoffs in New Jersey begin next week, and of course, Channel 8 will be there. We will have a first-round playoff game for you. It should be played next Saturday. I would think there's a very good chance we'll be right back here for a Group 3 game. As they say in the business, check your local listings. Monsignor Donovan, Tom's River East also could be involved. And that East-North game could be changed, but as of now, we'll be having that Thanksgiving Day game shown on Tuesday, December 1st. But if East qualifies in Group 4, that could be all mixed around. They go to the option for one of the first times today. Overholt sprinting to the sideline and goes out of bounds after a gain of about 8.
Now, that's the first time you saw the speed option or the lead option with Overholt going right down the line of scrimmage. And Tommy Nolan, his responsibility was the pitch back. And you'll see right now, as he sprints down, Nolan will come straight across, who has pitch responsibility, and there goes Overholt for a good gain.
The lead back on that, the motion back, DeLucia came out in motion and sealed off the linebacker, number 60, Lobdell, to enable Overholt to get to the sideline for a good gain.
Question I have now, speaking of the relationship between the coach and the band, is Louie in honor of Coach Priscilla. Overholt tries the near sideline. Nolan catches up with him. It's close to a first down, might be just a little bit short.
Right now we're getting a look at the athletic abilities of Joshua Overholt on the last two plays. In talking to Pete Fabian, he mentioned the fact that before Joshua Overholt transferred from Indiana, as a freshman, he got a varsity letter as a wide receiver. And here you can see him using his speed to get to the corner. And the tackle is made by 47, Tom Nolan.
The 60s medley continues down below, and here come the chains from the far sideline all the way over to the near.
Here's a pretty good shot of the spot of the football, and you can see they have it by the length of the football.
That doesn't distract you, the band, does it?
Oh, not at all, no.
You know, because they
At least
say...
you guys have the headsets, and you can hear only half the band.
Well, they say as you get older, your hearing gets a little more sensitive.
Well, I tell you, it's gone completely after today.
You know, referring back to what you said about Notre Dame, I think it's the emotion that Notre Dame has that Lou tries to instill in his team. That might be one of his reasons why he's so Notre Dame oriented. And probably since he's a Roman Catholic, Notre Dame's the big Roman Catholic school, that has another influence on Lou and his appreciation for Notre Dame.
Somebody get some ice packs for Jim Veal when this one's all over. He has been hitting just about every location today. He took another wallop and was a little slow. You can see him there. I don't know how great he feels right now after another gain of a yard. Check out the contact here.
And you see the linebacker, that's number 22, Casey Mahoney. Bring me back, coach.
I tell you what, give Gerard Caruso a little bit of praise on that as well, because he jammed everything up and he forced the play.
And I was watching Coffey, who got a hit, and all those guys did some damage. To the far sideline, it's complete. Salento slipped as he tried to cut it upfield. He's down to the Pinelands 48, so it'll be a third down at about 3.
Can't say enough about the Lacey defense today and how they've bottled up Pinelands. And Pinelands is averaging 270 yards a game, more than Lacey. Not more, but they're averaging 270, which is more than the 260-something that Lacey is averaging. But the Lacey defense has been outstanding today and has held the Pinelands Wildcats in check the whole day.
Third down on a couple. Clock is moving. We're under 9:20 to go. 23-0 lead. There goes DeLucia way behind Vila in the backfield on the option. Overholt dragged down after no gain. Fine play
by number 70, Tim McDowell.
So it's fourth down and a yard or two. Bill Bruno, I'm sure, will go for it and try to hang on to the ball.
You know, with Lacey being confronted with so many different looks today, I think it's a pretty good indication that they can adjust on the move pretty well. because Ed Heffernan was not prepared for at least 13 or 14 different things. Here you see the down-the-line option again after the fake inside, and you see it's pretty well defense. So there's an awful lot of new things being shown to the Lacey defense, and they're adjusting on the move. 4th
down and a long yard, and now Jim Vila was the one in the backfield calling for time, so that's it. I don't think Pinelands has any more times out left. They used up 2 defensively. Now they take their 3rd with 8:29 to go in the game. You know, this Pinelands offense not only has scored every game, well, I shouldn't say the offense, the team, because they had one game where they scored 2 touchdowns on defense and special teams, but Pinelands has come up with at least 2 touchdowns in every game, and 8.5 away from being shut out, and Lacey's defense going for its 4th shutout of the season here.
It's probably an indication of why the Lacey Lions are #1 in their conference in B South, and also the fact is they've beaten some powerhouse A South teams. They may be, with with some arguments from maybe Brick or Tom's Reese, the best team in Ocean County this year.
Admittedly, this is a very tough question to answer because you only watch the teams around here and don't get a chance to see the teams down in South Jersey. But just using the past few years as a reference, the South Jersey Group 3 championship teams Lacey has had, how do you see them going into the playoffs?
From what people tell me, the teams that are going to qualify, Lacey being #1, Lacey is superior, plays in a better league, and should fare very well. Now, this is coming from very impartial people who see those leagues play week in and week out. So things are looking very bright, I think, for the playoffs for Lacey.
4th and 1, right up the middle. Vila looks to have it.
I would think that after going down to the Group 3 championships last year where we saw Toms River South defeat Woodrow Wilson, the only trouble is Woodrow Wilson has maybe improved. They have 2 guys, 2 tackles are 6'5" and 350 plus, and plus they have a 215-pound running back in Ramon Worthy. So they would be a big challenge, and that may be their first opponent. The big advantage is that the game would be played here. Ocean City and Egg Harbor in an admittedly inferior league to the Ocean County League.
First down at the Lacey 48 now. Overholt has DeLucia in motion to the left. Vila the single setback. They'll give it to him up the middle again. Coffey got his arms around him, and he got some help from his teammates after a gain of 2. Obviously, when you prepare from week to week, you're concerned about your opposition and what they present. Well, we can't predict that. But just talking about the Lacey football team itself now, if you're Lou Versillo and his coaching staff, is there any one area that you're especially concerned about that you'll work extra hard in practice this week going into the playoffs?
I think they're going to work on execution and going back to their basics to make sure they do certain things. I think they feel they can throw the ball. They want to make sure they can catch the ball. They'll be working on their pass receivers because they're going to play some tough teams. They're going to have to be able to throw besides run. But their basic game plan will be what they'll go with.
2nd down and 8 at the 46. Vila on the pitch. Didn't get it. Loose ball. Lacey football. 2nd time today. Overholt and Vila haven't gotten together on a pitch.
That's a tough pitch to handle. If we can see the replay, you'll see it comes out a pretty high, hard pitch to the outside, and the people are in his face, and you'll see Vila as he looks up, and right in his face is the defensive corner people for Lacey. And, of course, now it's Lacey's football in real good field position.
Matt Coffey recovered it.
Matt Coffey recovered it, and I think on that play what we're going to have was a reverse to number 23, Damon Rossiter, and that's why Vila might have taken his eye off the ball for a second. He was looking for his reverse.
Barglowski remains a quarterback. Sasala on 1st down gets it to the Pinelands 46. Ron, we did see Lacey have trouble catching the ball today, but previous games you've seen them, do you think that receiving is a question mark, or has it just been a rough day?
No, I've seen them play 3 or 4 times, and this is really the first time that, and of course they were, very noticeable plays because they were out and could have resulted in touchdowns. But I think that, generally speaking, they're a very sound football team. They've just got to make sure they get those rough edges hewn down a little bit before playoff time. And I think, as Tony said, execution is the main thing they want to concentrate on.
Penalty flag is down. A little scrap behind the play, again involving Mike Foy and a couple of those linemen, Rich Diab and Chuck Boyer. It's a holding penalty that negates Elias's run to the Pinelands 39.
Well, you can see most of the day that number 77 for Pinelands, Mike Foy, has been double teamed by the Lacey offense because he's so important to the Pinelands defense. They've got to get him out of the way. If they have to take two people, they take two people. You can watch it right here. See two people double teaming. You see the run on the front side by number 21, Elias, who almost broke the double team tackle there.
I think if I were head coach of Lacey, right there would be the thing I'd be most concerned about. How the three sophomores on the offensive line will react in a playoff game and those penalties, because, hey, it doesn't matter how good a team you have, especially in high school football where a penalty is often more than 10 yards, depending on where the infraction occurred. It is so tough on a drive to overcome a 10 or 15-yard penalty.
It is. It's tough enough to drive the football. You don't want to hurt yourself with penalties.
Now they're looking at a 2nd and 18. Barglowski still going to throw it. Nice feed down the sidelines of Cone, who caught it in stride at the Pinelands 39. That is one of the prettiest plays of the day.
Well, he turned up and the ball was there. I think he threw the ball before he was even turned around to look for it. Cohen made a great catch, and just luckily, defensively, Pinelands was in the right coverage as far as being downfield anyway.
You see it right here. It's kind of what we used to call a hook and a snake. Number 82 runs an out pattern and turns it up. And he's hit right in the seam between the deep man and the short man. And John Cohen is the leading receiver for Lacey. He's got 15 reception for about 240 yards with 4 TDs. And he's been the leading receiver all year. He was also our player of the game last week against Manchester.
Lions have made an effort the last couple of weeks to get the ball in John Cohen's hands. They ran 2 reverses to him last week. Another one today. First down at the Pinelands 39-yard line. Sasala, what a great block by Tom Nolan. Sasala takes advantage. Brings it down to the 17-yard line. I don't know if our cameras picked it up the first time, but if we can get a look, 47, Tom Nolan crunched one of the Wildcats. He's getting congratulations from the offensive line coach, and he's not even an offensive lineman.
Well, he is. When he plays tight end, he becomes an offensive lineman, and probably Rich Stratton works with him. You watch this block by number 47 on the outside coming in. Watch him just pop. Oh, great delivery. I mean, he hit him with his pads. Perfectly clean hit. I mean, that's what football is supposed to be.
Sometimes that's referred to as a holler block. What you've got to do is you've got to yell the guy's number that you want to block so he turns around and faces you, and you don't block him from behind.
4:20 to go. That's interesting. And here's Cone again. You mentioned they want to get it in his hands. Salento, who's had a good game, particularly against the run, stops that one. Well, he's covered the pass well. Also, that's out of bounds at the 14-yard line. A flag just came down. Penalty against Lacey again.
Lacey's faced the last 2 weeks a lot of nitpicking mistakes, penalties, big penalties, fumbles, drop passes, things that maybe their concentration is off because they know they're in the playoffs. They know they're playing teams they should beat. And again, that's something that the Lacey staff is going to have to work on this week.
There you see Rich Stratton with the baseball cap with a red peak, and Lou Versillo. Here's a replay. That's the kind of penalty, an unsportsmanlike conduct that you as a coach really get irritated about. The aggressive penalties, sometimes you can handle those. The mental mistakes, the unsportsmanlike conduct, they're the kind of things that you sit down and talk to your team about. Hey, why put ourselves in a hole like this? It's hard enough to get where we are. Let's not hurt ourselves.
So a 2nd down and 20. It's at the Pinelands 29 with 3:45 to go. Barglowski has Stoop cutting to the sideline, throws for him, and he can't hang on. That was a tough attempt.
That's the same play from the same formation. They put doubles to one side, bootlegged away, brought the tight end back to the vacated area, and it was one of those situations where he was wide open, but it was a bad throw.
Things are getting nasty down there. It was just another unsportsmanlike conduct penalty against Lacey, I think on Stoop.
Here it is, Barglowski delivers, and now when Stoop gets up, he makes a mistake and flips the ball to number 35, which is a showing up penalty, which ends up being another 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalty. And it's difficult to overcome.
I would think DeLucia must have said something to Stoop. He seemed to react by flipping the ball. And now one of the officials going over to the Lacey sideline. It's gotten kind of strange all of a sudden, hasn't it?
Well, considering the score and time remaining, but I think it also points out the competitiveness of Pinelands and Lacey. I mean, they're both trying to prove a point. Pinelands is not going to give up. They're going to take you right down to the wire, regardless of what the score is. That's the way they're coached. And now you have the Lacey team being brought to the sideline, being talked to by their coach. And I tell you what, he'll get the point across to him right now, very subtly.
You mentioned this last week. Lou Versillo is not the kind of guy necessarily on the sideline will yell, scream, grab a kid by the face mask and jersey, but he does have a way, obviously, of imparting his message. And normally this team is very well disciplined, although it hasn't exactly been the case in the last couple of weeks.
Well, I think Lou realizes, too, that sometimes panic is infectious. So he is not that kind of coach to appear to be panicked on the sideline, although he'll be very, very calm, but he'll get his point across. Just like last week when he got a football player who had a misconduct call out of the ball game. He made his point very, very directly, and he's telling in no uncertain terms, hey, let's not hurt ourselves. This is ridiculous football for Lacey Township to put ourselves in a hole like this.
We were just looking, and you can see the Lacey huddle. What Lou Versillo right now is telling his football players, boys, we've worked too hard to let our emotions overcome what we've accomplished. Let's get our concentration back. Let's do what's right out there. Let's not get involved in any of this name calling or showing up type of penalties that we're getting. Let's go back and just play Lacey Lion football, and that's what he's sending his team back on the field right now to do. Let's play Lacey football.
Speaking of getting their concentration back, something else we did not touch upon. We've been talking so much about the playoffs, but the new schedule actually has Lacey playing a state playoff game before they try to wrap up B South. After the playoff game, we'll have a game against Central Regional, and if the Golden Eagles, which will be only focused on that game, can pull off the upset, it'll be a three-way tie for first place. Barglosi's looking to pass. He avoids Vila and goes deep. Nolan's the man out there. It's incomplete. Nolan covered by Rossiter. And Lou Versillo's Lacey team not just fading and taking it easy with this 23-point lead. They've been going for more, but they won't get it this time.
Well, they want to keep some consistency. At 4th and 1,000 to go. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, you're going to throw the football and you're going to try to get a break.
Well, not everybody would throw the football there.
Well, I'm sure Bill Bruno is probably questioning it too, but once you step on the field, whatever happens, happens. You have no control over the other team. If the other team throws the football when you don't think they should, that's the way it goes.
Fair catch made at the 10-yard line by Falzone.
That's the best punt of the day for number 12, Rich Barglosky. He's thrown the ball on the money. He's punted the ball. He's led his team. He has had an outstanding day, even though his statistics at the end of the day won't show it. But he has led his team into the end zone for 23 points, and they're ahead. And I think that's what you have to say about Rich Barglosky as a quarterback. He is 8-0 in a few minutes anyhow.
Yep. That's the other thing, too, Ron, forgetting about the whole notion of rubbing it in or running it up. Forgetting about that, there's 3 minutes to go in a game. You're ahead by 23 that you're going to win with all these important games coming up. Why have your quarterback even take another hit?
No, well, I don't think it's any question of rubbing it in or anything else. It's just one of those deals that was as good as a punt. Instead of punting the football, you get back and you just throw the ball downfield.
Falzone had that carry, so Vila may be done offensively. He got a yard.
Once again, Bill Bruno has to get people ready not only for next week, but he also has to get them ready for next year. So he's getting a look at this young running back, Falzone. Give him some action.
Only a sophomore. He's the tailback again. Inside for DeLucia. Bounces off a bump, but Mahoney finishes him off right at the 10.
Now he's got next year's backfield in there. He's got DeLucia, the junior. He's got Falzone, the sophomore. He's got his junior quarterback. So let's get them some action and see what happens. Talking to Pete Fabian, he said their freshman team has some outstanding individuals on it. Fill in with what he's got here. Bill Bruno will be competitive again next year in this league.
Down down, 2:10 to go, as you can see. 23-0. Been all Lacey. Now a 3rd down and 10. Overhaul. There's the scissors play, and Salento gets cut down.
And once again, number 70, Tim McDowell, is on the play with help from T.J. Hutler. Those two boys, along with the other people like Gerard Caruso, Matt Coffey, Casey Mahoney, Dave Lobdell, Tom Nolan, John Cohen. The defense has been outstanding for Lacey. We have to think that time of possession is at least 2-1 in favor of Lacey, and poor Pinelands has had problems all day on offense.
Now Sanzari will stand about 8 yards deep in his end zone. Lacey's coming after it, and he gets it away. It hits at only the 32. Pestrocella picks it up at the 40. He lost the ball as he started to return it, but I think Lacey got it back at the 38 with 1:06 to go. Here you get a look at the punt return. And now we'll see if Lacey tries to go for more. They still have the starters in there at the 38-yard line. Marklowski gives to Sasala. And he's dragged down as the band wishes goodbye. Pinelands got the ball back on a fumble. Pinelands has recovered. Couldn't see the fumble. Sasala coughed it up. Rather than take a knee a couple of times, Lacey tried to play, and they do fumble it.
Well, again, maybe Gary Sasal hasn't carried the ball much today. He's not feeling well. I don't know. It's tough in high school to have your quarterback take a knee. That's not something that's a norm. They were just running a normal play, not trying to rub it in. Now Pinelands has an opportunity to do something offensively.
25 seconds to go. Foul zone. Hutler in on another tackle. Clock ticking with 10. And that should do it. That is Jim Vila, who had a very rough and painful day for Pinelands as the final gun sounds. And Lacey goes to 8-0.
Well, Pinelands, came in here and played a very, very strong football game. Unfortunately, their defense was on the field an awful lot. They have a lot of two-way players, and they're gradually worn down. Lacey has a little bit more in the way of depth, and that's the situation that really sort of helped them.
3 touchdowns today for Brian Elias, all short touchdown bursts. And the defense for Lacey was spectacular. T.J. Hutler got the scoring and the defensive charge started with that tackle of the quarterback Overholt in the end zone, and the Lacey defense with Matt Coffey and Casey Mahoney kept coming at Jim Vila and the rest of the Pinelands offense the rest of the day. And Lacey goes on to a 23-0 win, and now it is on to the South Jersey Group 3 playoffs for the Lions. Our players of the game, defensive lineman T.J. Hutler, who actually scored today with the safety and was all over Overholt. And also Brian Elias with his 3 touchdown runs. We'll be back with them on our post game. Stay with us. The final score, Lacey 23 and Pinelands nothing. beautiful plaque courtesy of Wallach so that they will always remember their terrific effort out here this afternoon. T.J. Hutler and Brian Elias were the guys our crew came up with among the many good efforts put forth by Lacey today. Right now, down on the field, Ron and Tony are standing by with our players of the game.
Down here on the field with T.J. Hutler, one of our players of the game today. I'm going to ask T.J. one of the questions that has bothered me. I've watched T.J. play defense in 3 or 4 games this year for Lacey, but last year he was an offensive center, and this is a big change. You went from offensive center, who's usually taking a lot of punishment, to a defensive lineman who dishes it out. What's been the biggest change for you, TJ, in this adjustment?
Well, I never played tackle before. I was always a linebacker last year, and so this year when I came up, they needed defensive tackle, and Coach Stratton worked really hard with the defensive lineman in converting me into a defensive tackle.
Okay, it's difficult, and you did an outstanding job today. Today you were first person to score for Lacey with your sack of Overholt in the end zone. What were you thinking about at that time, and what was your responsibility, TJ?
I don't know. I was been in the backfield a lot this year on different games, and I just wanted a piece of him, because a quarterback keeps on getting away in the game, so I just wanted to make sure he wasn't getting anywhere.
Well, he sure didn't. You made a big play there to pull him down and give your team the opportunity to get out ahead 2-0. And, of course, with the ensuing free kick, Lacey came down and scored and went ahead 9-0. Later in the first half, you also made a big play on a fake punt. And they tried to swing a guy out, and you were there to knock him out of bounds. Was your assignment to look for a fake on that play?
Well, yeah, basically, I have outside containment, and when I saw it wasn't snapped to the punter, and I saw him just looking when the quarterback rolled out to the sideline, and I just followed him and just hit him.
He sure did hit him and knocked him right out of bounds. All right, there are some people in there besides yourself who are doing an outstanding job on the line of scrimmage. You want to mention some of your buddies there that did a great job today?
Well, our plug tackle, Jar Crusoe, he did a real good job, and our nose guard, Tim McDowell, they're top-notch linemen, too.
Well, they sure are, and you can see by this is your 4th shutout of the year, probably one of the best defensive efforts of the year, because Pinelands has an outstanding offensive team, and they've rolled up 270 yards and have scored in every game that they've played this year until today. So, TJ, outstanding effort for you today. One other question before we turn it over to Ron with the offensive player of the game. Next week, something different happens. You have a playoff game. What are your feelings on that?
Well, first time, I'm wondering who we're going to play, and we have to give it our best effort, and put up a good fight, because I know we can be state champs.
Okay, right now that's the most important thing in your mind right now, worrying about who the opponent is going to be in the big victory, hopefully next week for the Lacey Lions. I'm going to bring in Ron with Brian Elias.
I'm here with Brian Elias, our offensive player of the game. Brian had gained about 75 or 80 yards today. Beginning of the season, Brian, I'm sure you had some goals, not only individually but as a team. What were some of your team goals that you and your teammates set prior to the season?
Well, the very first day of practice, we took the whole team aside and we said to them, all the sophomores, we knew there was going to be a lot of sophomores starting. We said to them, you guys can't play like sophomores. You have to grow up right away. And we said to them, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to go undefeated. We have the talent. We had to take one game at a time, and just play our hearts out every game.
You and Gary Sasala splitting time. Of course, you playing defense, it gives you a bit of a break. I know you're coming off that knee surgery, and sometimes you get a little tired, and it's good to get a break now and then. I'm sure Gary and yourself would be the first to say the only reason that you're gaining as many yards as you have is because of your offensive linemen. Maybe you'd like to mention a couple of those guys.
Our line is phenomenal. Chucky Boyer is the center with Lobdell and Coffey and Carraz and Diab, Stoop at tight. It's just a lot of continuity there, brotherhood. We never get down on ourselves. Even when things go wrong, we always have high spirits. We're just a tight-knit bunch. Great line.
Well, Coach Frasillo has mentioned that this senior group seems to be one of the best he's ever had, and he's praising you guys all the time. Just one last question. This is about the